Hello everybody, this is a Lamley showcase. You are looking at the Mazda 787B by Tomica Limited Vintage. The one in orange and green is the world famous 24-hour Le Mans winner. Then the second release by Tomica Limited Vintage. I've shown these before, how incredibly detailed they are. TLV, as I like to call them, don't do a ton of race cars, but when they do, they just kill it. So I wanted to go and show you my favorite series by Tomica Limited Vintage, not just of race cars, but in general. These are the Super Silhouettes. These are dream cars for so many Japanese youth. They grew up loving these in the late 70s, early 80s, and these are as good a replica in 164 as you will find. There are 8 that Tomica Limited Vintage did. 3 Skylines, 3 Bluebirds, and 2 Silvias. We're going to look in a little bit of the background on the cars, but I'm just going to show you some of the coolest diecasts you will ever see. I promise. Off to the box we go. Okay, we're going to start with this pair of Skylines, both by Tomica Limited Vintage, both somewhat similar, both very different. Take a look at that car swinging around in the front right now. That is DR30 Skyline. Does it look familiar? It probably does, because Hot Wheels released theirs this year. This is the 1982 R30 Skyline released by Hot Wheels. Red Panda, it's called. If you want to see a cool video, look up Red Panda Petrolicious on YouTube. My friend Jay's car was featured there. Nonetheless, Tomica Limited Vintage is known for their stock cars. And that, well, not the one coming around front, but this one coming around back, is what a stock R30 Skyline looks like. Doesn't sit low. Looks very much like the cars did back in that era. The Super Silhouettes, on the other hand, are exactly that. They have to retain the silhouette. They were race cars from about 1979 to 1983. Fuji Championship Series. They spit flames. They were crazy looking. And you can see the front chin, the wide fenders, the intakes, the big old spoiler in the back. Everything could be all out bonkers, except they had to retain the silhouette of the car. That's why I've put these two together. The silhouettes are exactly the same from a side view. Everything else is different. So let's move this one away and let's take a look at the Super Silhouettes. I'll start with the 3 Skylines that Tomica Limited Vintage has done. They did 3 generations, I wouldn't call them generations, but incarnations of the R30 Super Silhouette. This is the first one. You can see the grille is the same. They moved to the iron mask grille. It means kind of a metal, kind of a front mask-like grille. But we're going to focus on the details of the casting. First off, engine's removable, or the engine cover is removable. Take a look at the wheels here. Kind of a lace style wheel that changes over time. These cars, if you see a lot of the Bosozuko, and I'm probably saying that wrong too, style with the big front chins and the big exhaust, these are all based on these cars. Kids loved these cars back in the 80s, and a whole scene has emerged from them. Second incarnation, and I would say this is my favorite Tomica Limited Vintage release ever. This very specific one. Double spoiler in the back, but it starts with those wheels. Look at those rear wheels and how detailed they are. Same super detailed interior, side mirrors, and yes, the engine is removable on this one too. That was the second incarnation of Hasimi's Skyline, and here's the third. Some of the deco is different. Wheels are very different. You look these up online and you'll see all these cars, and you'll see how well Tomica Limited Vintage did on these as well. It's pretty insane. Any subtle difference? Like, for example, the spoiler. Going back to the previous incarnation, see the spoiler right there? Now look at how this one swings around. It has a couple extra pieces on it. Check that out. So, the R30 Skylines were famous Super Silhouettes, but that's not all of them. There were 3 Bluebirds. I don't know if I have these in order of release. 2 Coca-Colas and 1 Autobox. These were Nissan Bluebirds. Same thing as Tomica Limited Vintage did, removable engine. These things are not cheap. They weren't cheap when they were released, and they've gotten more and more expensive because they're just such cool cars and people want them. I have a link down to Japan Booster. That's actually where I got these a few years ago, and they've been just one of my favorite elements of my collection. That's the Coca-Cola. Back then they didn't have Diet Coke. They had Coca-Cola Light. This was the second race car. Cool, right? Yeah. And last from the Bluebirds is the Autobox. Of the Bluebirds, nothing looks better than Coca-Cola, but still I like this one because I love the orange and white. So, like I said, 8 super silhouettes done. You've seen 3 Skylines, you've seen 3 Bluebirds, and just in the last couple of years, Tomica Limited Vintage released 2 more. This is the Nissan Silvia. This is the one when I collected the other super silhouettes and I would read about them. This is the one that I was hoping we would see soon, and we finally did about a couple of years ago. I may have these a little, maybe not in order. I can't remember which one came first because they look very, very similar. Engine does come off of this one, like all of the super silhouettes. But check out those wheels, huh? So it may look like I'm showing you the same car, but I'm not. Best way to tell, you got the same side stripes, but look at that front chin with the metal pieces on it, and you can see this one doesn't have them. And a different logo on the front. So, leaves you with, do I need to get all of the Silvia or both of the Silvias, considering how expensive they are? Probably not. Maybe you can get one, but it's fun to have both as well. These are a little cheaper than the Skylines and the Bluebirds just because they're a little more new, but they're going to catch up in price. So if you're interested in them, I would jump at them. So finishing back with my favorite one, the second release of the Super Silhouette with just those crazy cool lace wheels. This is one of my favorite elements of my collection, are the 8 Super Silhouettes from Tomica Limited Vintage. I love collecting this brand. Whenever I hear that there's more race cars coming, and they've done some classic now 510s, and they're doing some Skylines, but the Super Silhouettes just can't be beat. They're my favorites. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the showcase. Talk to you later. Bye.